Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. It's another episode of Attempting Not to Get Sacked, and we're back in the Championship. Is this ride in the Championship going to be any easier than the first time we were in it? Probably not. I mean, it's been a pretty long summer. I've been looking at new players to improve the squad. Haven't really found any. And of course, in this episode, we take on one of the teams that got relegated from the Premier League, so it's a great time to be alive. In the last episode, we drew Bradford 1-1, which secured our promotion back to the Championship, as Sunderland capitulated in the last 3 games of the season when they were 5 points ahead. And to be honest, I did say at the start of the season when we were actually in League One, I said we were going to get this team back up, and I finally managed to do it. And as I have mentioned, it's been a very brutal summer at the club, and it's going to be a very long season for me. That's all I'm going to say. Now, we start with our summary just after the last game of last season, and the board set my initial wage budget for 130 grand, which I think is about 70 more grand than I'm paying at the moment, and the transfer budget at 4 million. I mean, where was the money in the first season? In the season review as well, the board were very pleased with the signing of D'Amico Dehaney, despite the fact that I couldn't actually register him for the League One squad, so I didn't play him at all last season, so I don't know why they're happy about that signing. Now, amazingly, despite our brilliant run of form for the first 6 months of the season, I only managed to get Manager of the Month once, and that was in the first month of the season. So by all accounts, I had a pretty shit year, really. So the board have set my expectations for next season to avoid relegation, which, I mean, to be honest, might actually be the end of my time here. The fact they've set an expectation, and I'm definitely not going to achieve it, means that I will definitely get the sack. And also some other news was that Sunderland's capitulation was completed as they lost in the playoff semi-finals to Ipswich, who I believe actually scraped into the playoffs on the final day of the season. I wouldn't take my word for it, because one of my viewers noticed that Portsmouth finished 8th last season, despite the fact that I said they secured a playoff spot. Wait, hold on, is that Chris Proud spreading bullshit again? So the players came to vote for their League One team of the season, and Kane Ramsey and Josh Knight got in it this year. And to be fair, Kane Ramsey didn't even have an outstanding season. The standard of right backs in this league must be absolutely shocking. Alex Patterson was also named in 3rd in terms of goal of the season for his strike against Warsaw all those months ago. To be honest, he didn't really achieve anything else this season, so at least he got the bronze trophy for the goal of the season. Bristol Rovers also joined the Meet and Coventry City in the Championship as they won their playoff final against Ipswich. Bristol Rovers in the Championship. And the critics keep saying that the standard of English football isn't going down. I mean, it's clear to see it is. Southampton also got relegated from the Premier League, so that's a guaranteed 6 points for me next season. Blackpool also offered me a job interview over the summer, and I was thinking about it because they are currently in the Championship and they are technically a better club than us. But then it got to me that I would have to create a whole new team sheet, and I really can't be bothered to do that, so I couldn't actually tell them that. I just rejected the interview. So we've had a couple of new contract signings over the summer, and Alex Patterson has signed a new 2-year deal with the club because he is one of our better midfielders, and also because his contract proposals were cheaper than everyone else's. Now, after his incredible 1 appearance last season, and it was actually the game that got us promoted, Daniel Grimshaw has signed a new contract at the club, and he is going to be my number 2 goalkeeper this season, unless I bring in someone new as well. Miles Kenlock has also extended his stay at the club. He had a fairly good season for me last year. I was very surprised, and he just gives us a bit more versatility in the back line. So Marcus Brown had a relegation release clause in his contract after we got relegated 2 seasons ago of 350k, and Reading matched that, and then they bought him off me. And to be truly honest, I didn't even know Marcus Brown's best position. I think I played him about 6 different positions last season. So our fixtures have been released, and our first 5 fixtures are pretty brutal. I mean, I've been thrashed by 3 of those teams in my career at Wycombe. I've also decided to move on from my assistant manager, and Wayne Routledge has been sacked as my assistant manager. I've decided to bring in Paul Bracewell, who, to be fair, actually looks a lot better than Wayne Routledge. Sean Goss and Jack Payne have also left the club after their contracts expired at the end of the season, and their contract demands are way too high for 2 players that would be fighting for 5th spot in the pecking order. The Carabao Cup first round draw was made, and we were drawn at home to Warsaw, which is a fairly easy tie for us to get into the second round and then get inevitably knocked out again.
You're goddamn right.
Kamil Majzek was also on the verge of joining Tottenham over the summer for 200 grand. I know, I can't believe he was actually about to join Tottenham for 200 grand. But thankfully, the UK government decided to reject his work permit, which meant that he couldn't move to Tottenham, and means that I've got him for another year. Although the issue then becomes that at the end of the season, I can't sign him to a new contract because he won't get a work permit for me. So all in all, it's an absolute fucking disaster. So over the summer, Millwall put a bid in of 1.5 million for Josh Knight, who has been my best player for the last few years, and I accepted it, but thankfully he rejected the contract offer from them and is going to be staying at the club. I've also had some great news recently, because the signing of Morgan Whittaker means that EK Ugbo now has doubled his wages, which means he's now on 8.5k a week. Why on earth did I put the match highest earner clause in his contract? Because now basically I can't sign players for too much wages, because EK Ugbo's wage is going to keep going up because of it. Now, we'll move into the summer signings that I've made, and as I have probably mentioned, we haven't really made that many, and the squad isn't looking as strong as I hoped it would be. But our first summer signing is Kane Ramsey, a player that we had on loan last season. We've decided to make his transfer permanent, as his Southampton contract expired in the summer. He did get in League One team of the season last year, and I think at a high level, he could develop into a very good right back for us, so I've decided to bring him in. And talking of right backs, I decided to strengthen that area and bring in a player that has a bit of versatility in midfield. So Barley Mumba joins us on loan from Norwich for the season, who are currently in the Premier League, and he is a very good player, I think, for this level. He can play right back, he could play centre midfield. You know, we do have a few options here and there. And also joining us on loan for the season is Luke O'Connell, who plays in centre midfield as well. He joins us on loan from Leeds United for the season, and he looks like a very good player for this level, especially within the wage structure that I've currently got at the club, which is I'm trying to spend as little money as possible. So it's quite good that I've brought in two players that can strengthen our side, especially in centre midfield and in the right back position, two areas which I've currently struggled with. So it's quite fitting that in one of our pre-season games against Exeter City, a team that are currently in League 2, both Luke O'Connell and Barley Mumba managed to get injured, which will put them out for the first few games of the season. Brilliant. Imagine both of them getting injured in the same game. So we have played one game this season already, as I wanted to focus on the Leicester game in this episode, but we took on Birmingham City away from home, and Cameron Isaac had an absolute disaster as he managed to make two mistakes and saw us lose by 2-0. I mean, it's fairly easy to see that his head has been turned by the bigger clubs, but I'm not panicking yet, and I know he's going to come good when I've sold him to a League One club later this season. But now we move into our game against Leicester City at home, and we did start off really badly against Birmingham, but I have kept the same system we played against them. So we're going to set up in a 4-2-3-1 formation. Cameron Isaac keeps his place in goal despite his horrendous game in the game against Birmingham City in the last match. Miles Kenlock will play at left back, with Domenico Dehaney making his debut for the team at right back, with Josh Knight and Sean McLaughlin playing as our two centre backs. Harry Clark and Alex Patterson keep their places in the centre of midfield, while Ike Ogbo, Liam Cullen, Trevor Clark will be our three behind Niall Ennis, who leads the line for us. And obviously I've signed all these players, but they're injured, so the team is pretty much the same as it was last year. This may well be the biggest mismatch we've had in this series. I mean, you look at Leicester's squad and you see loads of players in there which are very familiar. You know, a lot of players that have actually played for Leicester in real life and still actually do play for Leicester in real life. And then you look at my team and it just looks utter shit in comparison. But it's our first home game of the season and we need to put in a good performance because the fans have high expectations this season. Any lower than 21st in the league and they definitely will be going for my head. And I mean, I wish them good luck because my head is quite big, so it might take them about 3 years to cut it off. Within the first 10 minutes of the game, Leicester inevitably got the first highlight of the match as Kenny Teti played the ball through for Pedro Porro, who then ran out of the defence and then hit a shot at Cameron Isaac. And to be honest, I was actually strapping myself in for a very difficult game. That was until we got to half-time, and literally that was the only thing that happened in the first half. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's a good thing that this episode is quite long already, because otherwise I'd be struggling to fill the time, and then I'd have to start talking about stories about my life, which no one really cares about, to be honest. As we enter the second half, Hamza Chowdhury then dispossessed Harry Clark on the right side of the pitch, and then played the ball through for Kelechi Iheanacho, who found himself one-on-one with Isaac, but then contrived to hit the post. Boys, are we going to get a highlight anytime soon today? Our only involvement in the game really was dispossessing Leicester and then kicking the ball forward and then giving it away again. But Leicester's pressure in the game finally told as Wilfred Ndidi, who was playing in an unfamiliar right-back position, laid the ball for Yuri Tielemans, who put the ball into the box for Jefferson Soteldo to fire the ball into the top corner. I mean, I don't want to jump the gun or anything, but I think that might be game over. It was all pretty much Leicester in the rest of the game, and Luke Thomas then put a ball into the box for Kenny Teti to fire a volley straight at Cameron Isaac, who pulled off a fantastic save, and it makes me question why he couldn't do that in the last game when he had an absolute disaster. Kenny Teti then set up Pedro Porro, who then forced another good save from Isaac. Look, Leicester, I know you're a good team and all, and you're probably going to piss the league this season, but is there any chance we can have the ball for more than 5 seconds? And thankfully, Leicester listened to my call and allowed us to have the ball for more than 10 seconds before Sean McLaughlin then launched the ball 90 yards for no reason whatsoever. Luke Thomas then forced his way through our defence before firing a shot at Isaac. I mean, I feel like I'm just saying that Leicester had a shot, Isaac saved it, and that was it. And you are 100% correct. And that was it. Another painful game. We've lost to Leicester by a 1-0. We haven't scored a goal yet this season. May have to actually start putting some money into the strike force. Oh, look, there we go. Captain Hindsight strikes again.